Dominic Farrow stood at the edge of Celestial Haven's lower market, the transparent dome revealing the stars beyond. His weathered hands clutched both an official document and the small fingers of his daughter Ellie. At 36, his face showed the lines of someone who had seen too much hardship, first as an emergency shuttle pilot during the Great Evacuation, then as a widower struggling to raise a 5-year-old alone in humanity's last orbital refuge. "Daddy," Ellie whispered, her brown eyes fixed on the auction platform where 3 alien women stood with downcast eyes. "They look sad like me when Mommy went away." Dominic squeezed her hand. For months, Ellie had been saying the same thing. "I need someone to help when you're working." Her loneliness tore at him, especially during his long shifts maintaining the station's oxygen systems. The auctioneer, a thin man with metal implants gleaming at his temples, announced the next lot. 3 Luridian females, contract-bound for debt. Labor rating, minimal. Starting bid, 10 credits total. The crowd's disinterest was palpable. Luridians were considered difficult. Their azure skin marked them as outsiders. Their slight build made them unsuitable for heavy labor, and their telepathic abilities made humans uncomfortable. 10 credits, Dominic called out, his voice steady despite the stares that turned his way. The auctioneer's eyebrow rose. "Sold," he said with obvious surprise. "Filing purpose?" "Household assistance and companionship," Dominic replied, ignoring the snickers from onlookers. The first woman, Naira, according to her file, had silver hair that flowed like liquid metal down her back. Her eyes, completely white without pupils, somehow still conveyed intelligence and wariness. The second, Salaith, stood with military straight posture, her cropped hair and muscular frame suggesting a fighter's past. The third, Kita, was smaller, her hands stained with various pigments. An artist, perhaps. As the transaction completed, Dominic approached them. "You're free to go wherever you wish," he said quietly. "But if you need shelter and food, my daughter and I could use your help." Naira studied him, her head tilted slightly. "For what price?" "Just respect. My daughter needs someone when I'm working. I need sleep occasionally." He attempted a smile. "And 10 credits seemed fair to avoid you 3 being shipped to the mining colonies." Ellie stepped forward, fearless. "I can show you our home. It's small, but Daddy keeps it clean." Kita knelt to Ellie's level. "What is your name, little one?" "Ellie Farrow." "I'm 5 3/4. Something in the alien's posture softened. Salaith looked at Dominic with a calculating gaze. "Why would a human man want 3 Luridian women?" "Your kind usually avoids us, 'cause you were the ones who needed help today," he answered simply. "And my daughter needs someone who understands loss." Naira stepped forward. "We will come." For now, as they walked through the market, whispers followed them like shadows. Dominic felt the weight of judgment, but straightened his back. For 10 credits, he'd purchased freedom for 3 souls and perhaps companionship for his daughter. Whether it would become more remained to be seen. Uncertain. Beginnings, the apartment in Celestial Haven's outer ring was modest. 1 bedroom, common area, and a tiny kitchen with recycled appliances. Dominic had converted half the living space into a sleeping area for himself, giving Ellie the bedroom. "You 3 can share the bedroom with Ellie for now," he explained, setting down extra blankets. "I'll arrange for additional accommodations soon." Naira touched the blankets hesitantly. "These are clean." "You sound surprised," Dominic noted. "Humans rarely offer Luridians anything unsoiled," Salaith interjected, her voice carrying traces of bitterness. Ellie appeared from the bathroom, hair wet from her shower. "Daddy says everyone deserves clean things and good food." She looked at the 3 women. "Are you hungry?" "Daddy makes good soup." Kita smiled for the first time, revealing slightly pointed teeth. "I would like that." That night, after a simple dinner of vegetable broth and protein cubes, Dominic prepared for his night shift. "I'll be back by morning." The apartment locks automatically. Naira stepped closer. "You're leaving us alone with your child? How do you know we won't harm her?" Dominic paused at the door. "Because I saw how you looked at her during dinner. Like you wanted to protect her too." After he left, the 3 women sat awkwardly in the small living area. Ellie brought out paper and colored pencils. Would you like to draw with me? Daddy says art helps with sad feelings. Kita joined her first, then Salith. Naira watched from a distance. Your daddy is unusual, Salith said carefully, sketching something resembling a weapon. Ellie nodded. People say that. They stopped inviting us to gatherings after Mommy died. Why? Kaida asked. Daddy says they're uncomfortable around sadness. Ellie's small shoulders shrugged. And now they'll be more uncomfortable because you're here. But I don't mind. You have pretty skin, Naira finally approached, kneeling beside Ellie. May I feel your thoughts? Liridians can sense emotions. I won't go deep, Ellie nodded, and Naira gently touched her temple. A moment later, Naira's eyes widened. So much loneliness for one so small, she whispered. The night passed peacefully. When Dominic returned, exhausted, he found Ellie asleep, surrounded by the three aliens, who had created a protective circle around her. She had nightmares, Naira explained softly. We soothed her. Dominic nodded gratefully. As he collapsed onto his makeshift bed, a notification pinged on his communications device. Inappropriate living arrangement reported. Investigation pending. The fragile peace they'd found was already threatened. Outside their window, the stars continued their cold, distant rotation around humanity's last refuge, indifferent to the unusual family forming within. A week passed in delicate adjustment. Dominic took extra shifts to afford larger quarters, coming home to find his apartment transforming. Kaida had painted beautiful murals on the walls, swirling galaxies and fantastic creatures that made Ellie squeal with delight. Salith had implemented security measures and organization systems that maximized their limited space. Naira, quietest of the three, watched over Ellie with increasing affection. Then came the night Ellie developed a fever. Daddy, it hurts, she whimpered, her small body burning. Dominic prepared to take her to the medical bay, but Naira stepped forward. I was a healer among my people, she said, hesitation in her voice. May I? Dominic stepped back, allowing her access to his daughter. Naira placed her blue hands on Ellie's forehead and chest, closing her pupilless eyes. A soft glow emanated from her fingertips. The station's recycled air contains trace elements harmful to human children, Naira explained. I'm neutralizing them in her system. By morning, Ellie's fever had broken. Dominic found Naira still beside his daughter, exhausted from the healing. Thank you, he whispered, helping her to the couch. Their hands touched, lingering longer than necessary. She reminds me of my sister's child, Naira confessed. Lost in the wars, Dominic's unit buzzed, another summons from station authorities. The complaints against him were mounting. He ignored it, focusing instead on Naira's delicate features. Why'd you become a rescue pilot? She asked, studying his face. I couldn't stand watching people die when I could help, he answered. Even when the evacuation became hopeless, I kept flying. That afternoon, while Ellie napped and Salith and Kaida were at the market obtaining supplies with their newly granted citizenship cards, Dominic and Naira talked for hours. She described Liridian customs, the beauty of her homeworld before its destruction. Our people bond through shared pain, she explained, and then through joy found, despite it. Sounds like humanity at its best, Dominic replied. Though we rarely achieve it. When Naira shivered, Dominic offered his jacket. As he draped it over her shoulders, their faces came close. He could feel her breath, cool and sweet, against his skin. For a moment, they remained suspended in possibility. I haven't felt drawn to anyone since my wife died, he admitted quietly. Your emotions shine like stars, she replied. Even a novice telepath could see them. Their first kiss was tentative, exploratory, the meeting of worlds. Her lips were cooler than human temperature, but soft, yielding. When they separated, Naira's hands trembled slightly. This is forbidden, she whispered. Humans and Liridians. Everything about our situation is forbidden, Dominic replied. But it feels right. That night, after Ellie was asleep with Salith and Kaida watching over her, Dominic and Naira found comfort in each other's arms, their differences becoming bridges rather than barriers. their bodies learning new languages of intimacy beneath the artificial stars of Celestial Haven. Threat of separation, summons arrived with station security Dominic's. Arrangement was deemed culturally inappropriate and potentially harmful. He was ordered to appear before the housing authority the following day. They can't separate us, Salaith insisted, pacing the apartment. Her military background was evident in her strategic thinking. We've done nothing wrong. In their eyes, everything about us is wrong, Kaida said softly. Cradling Ellie, who sensed the tension despite attempts to shield her, Nair and Dominic exchanged worried glances. Their relationship had deepened over the past weeks, tender moments stolen in the darkness while the others slept. What had begun as convenience was becoming something none of them had expected, genuine family bonds. There's precedent we can use, Dominic said. The adaptation protocols established during the evacuation. Species integration for mutual survival. A knock interrupted them. Outside stood Dominic's supervisor, Red, his expression grim. They're going to rescind your apartment assignment, Reed warned. I wanted to give you advance notice. You saved my family during the evacuation, Dominic. I owe you. After Reed left, Salath grabbed her jacket. I need to speak with contacts in the maintenance sector. There are Luridians working there who might help. Kaida took Ellie to the bedroom, distracting her with stories and drawings. Alone in the kitchen, Naira pressed herself against Dominic, her forehead touching his chest. I never expected this, she whispered, to find connection so far from home. Dominic's hands traced the curve of her spine through the thin fabric of her shirt. We'll find a way. Their kiss deepened, desperation adding urgency. Clothes were discarded as they sought solace in each other's bodies. Naira's blue skin contrasted with Dominic's tan complexion as they moved together on the small couch, their connection transcending physical differences. Her telepathic abilities heightened the experience, creating feedback loops of pleasure that left them both trembling. I love you, Dominic, whispered against her silver hair. The words surprised him as much as her. Naira's white eyes widened. Humans say this so easily. Not this human, he assured her. Morning brought. Saleus returned with news. A Luridian elder, working in environmental controls, had agreed to testify that mixed households showed better adaptation rates. Meanwhile, Kita had created beautiful images documenting Ellie's improved health and happiness as they prepared for the hearing. Dominic gathered his small family. Whatever happens, remember this. What we've created here is real. We found each other across galaxies. That means something. Naira squeezed his hand, her mind gently touching his in silent support. Ellie hugged each of her new guardians, unaware of the bureaucratic storm threatening her happiness. We're family now, she declared with childish certainty. Nobody can change that. With those words strengthening their resolve, they headed toward the administrative center, prepared to fight for their unconventional bond in a society that feared what it couldn't categorize. The administrative center's hearing room fell silent as Dominic and his unusual family entered. 5 station officials sat behind a curved desk, their expressions ranging from curiosity to outright disapproval. Mr. Farrow began, the chief administrator, a stern woman named Director Walsh. You stand accused of creating an inappropriate household environment by cohabitating with 3 Luridian females in the presence of a human child. Dominic stood tall. My daughter has never been happier or healthier. Sentiment is irrelevant. Station regulations clearly state, Section 42 of the Adaptation Protocols. Interrupted Saleh, stepping forward. Establishes the legal framework for cross-species household formation during crisis periods. Director Walsh frowned. The evacuation crisis ended 3 years ago. The crisis of my daughter losing her mother didn't, Dominic countered. Naira approached the bench, her movements graceful. With permission, I would demonstrate Luridian familial bonding. After hesitant approval, Naira's hands began to glow as she created a telepathic projection visible to all images of Ellie laughing, of meals shared, of nightmares soothed, of a home created from nothing. The officials leaned forward, transfixed. When the images faded, Kaida presented her drawings documenting Ellie's transformation from a withdrawn, grieving child to a vibrant, secure little girl. Even the most skeptical administrators seemed moved. The law exists to protect, Dominic concluded. My question is simple. From what are you protecting my daughter? From love? From care? From healing? Ellie broke protocol, running to stand between her father and Naira, taking both their hands. They're my family now. Please don't take them away. After deliberation, Director Walsh announced their verdict. The Pharaoh household will be granted special status as an experimental integration unit, subject to quarterly reviews. Outside the center, relief washed over them. Saleith laughed for the first time since they'd met. Kaida immediately began sketching the moment to preserve it. Ellie danced in circles around them. That evening, in their apartment now, officially there's Dominic, proposed a Luridian bonding ceremony to Naira. On my world, she explained to Ellie, when people choose to become family forever, they share a drop of blood and a promise, under the painted stars of Kita's ceiling mural. With Saleith standing witness, Dominic and Naira performed the ritual. A small cut on each palm, their blood mingling as they pressed their hands together. 2 worlds, 1 family. Naira whispered the traditional words. What space is separated? Love reunites. Later, in the privacy of their new bedroom, Saleith had engineered expandable walls to create proper rooms. Naira and Dominic celebrated their union with passionate intimacy. Their bodies had learned each other's rhythms and responses. Human warmth complementing Luridian coolness in perfect harmony. For just 10 credits, Naira murmured against his chest afterward. You've purchased a family, no, Dominic corrected, stroking her silver hair. For 10 credits, I purchased freedom. The family we built together was priceless. Outside their window, Earth hung distant and broken, a reminder of all they had lost. But inside their small apartment on Celestial Haven, something new and precious had been created, a blueprint for humanity's future among the stars. Where differences became strengths and love transcended species, their stories spread through the station. Then to other colonies, a beacon of hope in uncertain times. It began with 10 credits and a desperate choice, but it grew into something that would change worlds.